Hey guys, so I hope all are doing good. Okay, so we will adding one more episode into our series. Okay, so which is called virtual machines. Okay, so if you aren't aware of what this series is, we are doing actually the cloud series. Okay, so we will going to cover most of the cloud concepts. Okay, so in this series, okay, so if you haven't watched earlier videos, okay, you can just go and watch those. Okay, so in this video we're going to cover the virtual machines. So what are the virtual machines and why they are important? Okay, so all of its terminologies we are going to see that. Okay, so let's begin then. Okay, so what is virtual machine actually? Okay, so and why they are important, and if you are a developer, so definitely in some point you are going to work with the virtual machines. Okay, and if you go in a cloud also, so cloud is basically famous for those things. Okay, virtual machines, servers. So what is this virtual machine is? Okay, so let me give an scenario. Okay, so assume you are building an application, right? You are building an application for Windows. Yeah, you are building application for a Windows, and if you built that one, you have a Windows laptop. Okay, you built that one and you ran it. Okay, it is working perfectly. And the same application you have to build for the Mac OS also, Apple users, and the same thing you have to build for the Linux users also. Okay, Ubuntu. So now for the Mac user, okay, so you again have to build that application. If it is you have to check that, okay, is it working fine in the Mac, right? So what you will do is, okay, so there is a two options. One is you buy completely a new system, new computer which is running a Mac OS, or another option is just create a virtual machine inside your Windows laptop only, right? So this is where the virtual machine come into the picture. So instead of buying a new system to test the application if it is working correctly or not in that operating system, okay, so assume you have multiple your application running into a multiple operating system, okay, multiple flavors, okay, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, or different it is running. Okay, so all systems, are you going to buy it, or in different systems you are going to run your application? That may be possible, okay, but it is not a easy one. Okay, so buying a new system for every time to test that application. So now you create a virtual machines. So now the question is, what is virtual machine? So virtual machines are, assume you have Windows laptop, Windows computer, you have Windows operating system, okay, which is installed on that one. So now if you want to create a application for a Mac, you create a virtual machine in that one, okay, inside the Windows operating system only. Okay, it is act as a top layer. Okay, so it is a Mac OS. Okay, so now again, if you want to create an application which you want to test in the Ubuntu, you create another virtual machine. Okay, so just you are adding more operating systems, okay, inside the same computer instead of buying a new system. Okay, so this is where virtual machine comes into the picture, and why that is useful. So now you don't have to buy extra systems, okay, to test your environments or to test your applications. In one computer only you can run all your application. You can just switch between, okay, now I am running the Windows, now I will switch between the Mac OS, now I will switch between the Ubuntu, right? So this is how switch you can switch between the operating systems. So that is what we call it as a virtual machine. So before that, okay, let me give another example, okay, so you can understand it better. So you have a house, okay, entire property you have. Okay, so in entire house, okay, so you are making a partitions. In your entire house you are making a partitions. Okay, so one is for the hall, one is for the bedroom, one is for the kitchen. You are making a partition. The house is kind of a Windows computer. So inside that you are making a partition, okay, bedroom, kitchen, living room, guest room, okay, dining hall. You are making a partition, right? Multiple partitions. So that is called as a virtual machines, you can, if I tell you. Okay, so you are not going going and building another house for the entire kitchen, right? You are not going to build another house for only for the bedroom, right? In an entire house you are making multiple partitions. So like that is like how the virtual machines are also there. In a Windows computer you are making a multiple partitions. Inside that you are keeping, okay, one is for the Mac OS, one is for the Ubuntu, okay. But remember, all the time the base operating system is always going to be on a Windows only, okay. So the base operating system, okay, so you can call it as a host operating system also, is going to be a Windows only. So now you can ask the question like how these virtual machines work actually. So there comes the another thing called as a hypervisor. Okay, so what is hypervisor? So hypervisor is kind of a, okay, so if you are building a house also, there is an engineer, okay, who decide how much I can keep a square foot for the kitchen and for the bedroom, how much size it is going to be. He decide, right? So every time if you want to design the house, so like that. And also here also in a computer, hypervisor is kind of a engineer, okay, who do all these things, creating virtual machines, assigning the storage for that one, everything. So hypervisor sit between your base operating system, which is Windows, and your virtual machines, which is, you can call it as a guest operating system also. It is sit in between. I will show you the diagram also how it will be. Okay, so now it will act as a middleman. Okay, so how this virtual machine work is, so basically they you have to install the operating system in it, and you, in order to it work, you have to give the RAM for it, you have to give the storage for it. Okay, so now from where this coming, okay, where this storage, RAM and everything is coming. So basically you are taking this all the things from the base operating system only. Assume your computer have 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of storage. So now you create a multiple virtual machines in that one. So you just break little bit, okay. So 16 GB I will break little bit of 2 GB and I will give it to the Mac OS. I will break little bit of 4 GB and I will give it to the Ubuntu. So now you just give some part of that RAM and storage to the virtual machines. So after that those virtual machines works, how much allocation you do. So this all things done by the hypervisor, taking it, assigning it and everything, allocating it and everything, it has been done by the hypervisor. Okay, now you can understand, okay, so how these all things works. Because what happens is, okay, so when you are building application, you have to test in multiple environments, how this is working in Windows, how this is working in the Ubuntu, how this is working in a Mac. Okay, because one application run into the multiple operating systems, right? So at that time, okay, in a single system you can install multiple virtual machine and you can test in all these things, just switching between those. So now it sounds very easy, and why don't everyone do this one every time? Okay, but remember, okay, so using a virtual machine kind of a slow down your entire system, because you have assumed you have five virtual machines are there inside your system. So now everyone are taking the amount of memory, RAM, storage and everything from your base operating system. Okay, so whenever you turn on the computer, so all the process has to need to be start when you start the applications. Okay, so it has to give all the RAM, storage, allocation and everything, and those virtual machines also have to be boot up. Okay, so this is kind of a time taking one, okay, whenever you start a computer. So that why virtual machines are kind of a slow when you install a lot of things. And because it is taking the data, sorry, it is taking the memory storage from the base. Okay, so this is one kind of a is there. Okay, so this is kind of a disadvantage. So what if the application need a very high performance, or I don't want to install new virtual machines? Okay, so there comes the bare metal. So if you haven't installed any virtual machines, Okay, so if you installed only one operating system, assume Windows, so now your system can be called as a bare metal, because it is not virtualized. So whatever the memory is there, whatever the RAM is there, everything is used by that operating system only. It has been distributed between multiple virtual machines. Okay, so now it can be called as a bare metal. So bare metal used in many use cases. Okay, so when you need a high performance, when you need underlying infrastructure, everything you need. Okay, I don't want to give some of the RAM to other operating system. Okay, so there you call it as a bare metal. Okay, so these are all the use cases. Okay, and what is the virtual machines, what is the hypervisor, what is the bare metal, we have saw. Okay, so now I will show you some simple diagram. Okay, so you can understand it more better, the more clear way. Okay, so yeah, let's go for the demo. Okay, so let me show you how the operating system, hypervisor, virtual machines and everything look like. Right, so as we saw, okay, so this is our base operating system. Okay, which I told. Okay, so it is going to be the Windows. So now in top of that, inside that, okay, so you are creating the virtual environments. So assume this you created for the Mac, and the same thing which you want to create for the Ubuntu also, because you are testing multiple application. Okay, how it works. Okay, so that application, how it works inside the different environments. So now this, in order to work these virtual machines, okay, you have to give the resources for it, RAM and storage. So assume your Windows machine have 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of storage. So now you are going to give from this. So assume for the Mac OS, what you given, 4 GB of RAM and some 256 GB of storage, and the same you given for the this Ubuntu also. So now you broken something from the base and you given allocated. So now how much is left in the base operating system? It is 8 GB, because you have allocated 4 GB here, 4 GB here. So now 4 GB has 8 GB has been left for the Windows operating system. Okay, so now this, okay, so this which is, these were the virtual machines, and this is Windows is a base operating system. You can call it as a host machine, and you can call it as a virtual machines as the guest operating system, right? So now how the hypervisor look like? Okay, so hypervisor sits in between. Okay, so hypervisor sit in between and it do all this allocation and deallocation, and all these things has been done by the hypervisor. So now if you talk, if you this is how everything look like. So now if you want to talk about the bare metal, so inside the bare metal nothing will be there. Okay, so inside the bare metal you have pure operating system and nothing. Okay, so only Windows is there. Windows is there with 16 GB of RAM and 1 TB of storage. So nothing is installed here, nothing, this machine not has been virtualized. So this is, you can call it as a bare metal server, and these you can call it as a virtual machines. Okay, so now I hope everyone understood. Okay, so how all these things work. Okay, so thank you. Yeah guys, so that is it for today's video, and this is how it all works. So I thought of, before going for the hands-on on the virtual machine, so why don't I just introduce what is the virtual machine is. So after this video we are going to definitely work on the virtual machine, how to purchase it in the AWS, how to configure it, and everything we will discuss it. Okay, so this is just an introduction about the virtual machine. Okay, so that is for today's video, and if you found it knowledgeable, don't forget to subscribe it and like it, and don't forget to share it with your colleagues and fellow mates. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Bye.